Quackity quack. We are back with another episode of the Duck on a Rock Sports Podcast. I'm Colin McDonough, joined by Matt McDonough, our producer, Matt we met, and we are honored and excited to be joined by our friend and guest, Andrew Callahan. Drew is not only our former colleague at the Daily Campus, the UConn student newspaper, but more importantly now, the Patriots beat reporter for the Boston Herald. Drew, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I think you had that in reverse. The more importantly is to be a friend and a wedding guest of yours, Colin, and knowing everybody Matt O the longest. But I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. Yeah, and your wedding was great as well until what the Celtics lost the next night.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll
okay.
talk
All
about
right.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it on that. But so when we talked about doing the podcast together, I thought the main theme was about the Patriots was going to be their silver pants, and now the main theme is a shot at a seventh silver trophy. So, I mean, did you thought that too, right? In August?
Yeah, I have all of these uniform notes prepared and their records when they're wearing red and silver and the blue and silver and the blue and blue, and I can't even use them today because they're 11-2 winning in every uniform. It's honestly insane. Like this week, everyone's, oh my God, the Bills are favored by 1.5 on Sunday. Who cares? You can win a division title on Sunday. That's what matters. So it's insane to me that they've gotten here. I thought they'd be 9-8. They surpassed that weeks ago.
Yeah, no, we just were I was just at my parents and Matt, my mom and dad, and I told my dad I'm coming over to hopefully watch the Patriots win the division. And literally the first thing he said was, the Bills are favored. So he'll be excited to hear that.
And Drew, that's the thing, like you said, they are on the cusp of clinching an AFC East. They're sitting atop the AFC, 10-game win streak, 11-2. Obviously, the roster was remade this offseason, head coaching change made. They addressed key positions in the draft, went on a spending spree in free agency, really unseen in New England before. You have Drake Maye in year two, an improved and remade O-line as well. And then there are key contributors at skill positions. There's something specific, or is it a collective of all those things, in your opinion, when you're watching the games, watching the tape in the locker room? What kind of has stood out to you during this streak and season as a whole?
Yeah, it's always a collective, right? But I think you need some things to go your way. And for the Patriots, up until 2 weeks ago in Cincinnati, it was health. I mean, they didn't have a single starter that went on IR until Milton Williams. And that allows talent that we all kind of agreed was middling to above average to kind of rise near the top because you're not losing players in the way that, like, you look at the Lions, and I don't know how many starters they frankly have left, a better team talent wise, but not a better team on the field. The other piece about that, obviously, is Drake Maye, who has made a year 2 to 4 leap just in year two and now might win an MVP. Stepping further back, it's Mike Vrabel who just kind of professionalized the whole outfit. And most of that work is Monday to Saturday. But what we really see, of course, is what's on Sunday. And what you see on Sunday is a team that is much more aggressive on fourth down, a team that understands how to manage the clock. And so when you get in close games like they did against Tampa Bay, and they go for it on fourth down right before the half, and Stephon Diggs, another big piece of this, gets a touchdown, you go back and go, okay, they won by one, and we all saw TreVeyon Henderson run a long touchdown in the fourth quarter. But it's those decisions that end up flipping the games and inspires belief. And then you get something that I don't believe in within games momentum, but over the course of the season kind of builds and breeds more confidence, and then it's self-sustaining. So now you have a team that knows, because it's proven to itself, we can hang with everyone. But the reason they believe that is not just because of Vrabel, it's not just because of May, it's not because of the health. It's what everyone's done to prove it to themselves collectively to say, we're not just making the playoffs. We're gonna go for this thing.
And that's something, like you did say, obviously with Vrabel, he is an experienced head coach. Certain hills I will gladly die on, although this year I have been gladly eating crow, despite the fact I'll still verbally whine about certain things Josh McDaniels does. And instead of eating crow, if we do lock down a certain sponsor, I'll be eating buffalo wings on here. But hopefully that's for the next couple weeks. But you've been around from UConn to covering Penn State, Patriots around the league. You've seen quarterbacks, various levels of skill, experience, success. Your experience with Drake Maye now in year two, obviously Brady's year two, technically speaking, went very well in Patriots history. So we'll see how it ends. But what have you seen from Drake Maye that has made his second year so successful?
So this is the type of cliched answer that I would be annoyed about. But you like hope for better when I ask and they go, well, it's not just one thing, it's everything. But like you don't get to be the MVP of the league by just extending plays or just being accurate or just reading coverage. Like again, the leap he's made is unprecedented. And not that I'm some official historian of the entire NFL, but this is my eighth season. Watched a lot of the league, have since the late 90s. I've never seen anything like this. And it's a guy who's not only powering the offense, checking plays and making plays, he's making the right play. So whether you want to look at his completion percentage over expected or his numbers against disguised coverage, which by the way are better than his regular numbers, meaning even when defenses have the freedom and ability to try to fool him, they're not. And I don't know how to explain that aside from just a confluence of events with the super talented kid who is smarter than we ever knew until you see it, and really good coaching where it's not just Josh McDaniels and the offense is an improvement over Alex Van Pelt, though it is. You get guys like Thomas Brown and Todd Downing who have been offensive coordinators, but now at this point in their career need to be position coaches. And their influences, unlike past years when everything was what Belichick wanted, which obviously for a while worked very well, historically well, those influences round out the offense where they've got plays and answers for everything. It's not just what McDaniels always did, and I think that's been a huge help to Maye, and maybe something we don't even talk about enough.
And you did kind of allude to it a couple times already, but just to, if you'd like sharing your MVP ballot would look like.
Drake Maye, Matthew Stafford, and then you guys can fill in 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. Like, it does seem like it's a two-man race, and similarly with the Heisman, it is kind of like, at least with the Heisman, they address who's going to New York already, but the MVP odds, if you took the odds that were, for Allen or Mahomes, which it seemed like at the top through the first 6 weeks, it seems like at least one of those bids has come crashing down. But we'll see how Maye plays against Allen in the rematch. You did mention how you had the records of the uniforms. That was in my preparation too. So 11-2, we have the white with the blue pants 1-0. We have the all white 2-0. We have the throwback 1-1. We have the rivalries 1-0, the all blue 3-0, which they started with the gimme game against the Panthers. I was hoping they were done with that, and they matched it against the all white Bills and the Bucks. So that's at 3-0. And then my favorite, the blue with silver, has seemingly fallen out of the rotation. They're sitting at 3-1. They only wore blue with silver in the preseason and white with blue. So 2 questions: is the white with silver out of the rotation as a whole? And what is your favorite match uniform? Either matching the jersey with the pants or just in general, from your view in the press box.
So if I said rivalry, would you guys boot me off the Zoom?
I think we lost you there for a second, Drew. Can you try that again?
Can you repeat that, Drew?
What I was trying to say is the blue with the silver, far and away. And
no, honestly, answer it. So is it the rivalry?
That is the answer, because like just the all blue is so basic and it's too much and it's not heavy handed. Like there's no nuance around that. It doesn't speak to like anything. Like let's paint with more than one color. Let's cook with more than one spice in the cabinet. Patriots for a while said no, and we know how that went. Now that they're doing that, Matt, I think we see what the turnaround and what the results are when you're playing with different uniforms. But it's the silver pants, matching the silver helmet and the blue in between. I'm also down relative to consensus on the red throwbacks. Like, okay, Pat Patriot's back. That's great. I don't need to see him like more than I do certain members of my family. And just like them, if I see them too much, I don't love them as much. So we can put Pat Patriot away. What I really want most is the Bledsoe Blues to be back in full force. And I am propagandizing this as much as possible. Those are the best Patriots uniforms. You cannot convince me otherwise. It has nothing to do with the fact that I was a child during that time. And that's when I watched and loved that team. They're the best uniforms. We're the best uniforms.
Yeah, and I think you're onto something with that, Drew, because it does seem like the fans are clamoring for it. I will admit, biasly, I believe because the Bledsoe, Terry Glenn, beginnings of Ty Law, Willie McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi, Chris Slade, like the posters in the childhood bedrooms, and short-lived Curtis Martin, like those popped. Classic 90s, which is always in style in my opinion, and Drake Maye seems to want them too. And as you said, I think Pat the Patriot would be a good like once a year if that, or a Thanksgiving game. I mean, my dad, born in '54, he remembers the first Patriots in 1960 with the old hat, and then '61 they brought Pat in. He likes, well, he doesn't care, but he thinks the white is silver, but he likes the flying Elvis because that's what they wanted. He remembers the Patriot from the dark days. But I do hope, it seems like there's a lot, it's a lot more liberal in terms of what you can wear. So hopefully that is worked into the rotation. I don't mind the current design with kind of a mesh with modern and new, but I definitely wouldn't mind them tabling the throwback for only a game a year to make it more special. Carl, why don't you go ahead?
No, well, I mean, I listened to Drew's podcast, Pat's Interference. It has slightly more subscribers and listeners than ours. But seriously, to everyone listening, listen to Pat's Interference. It gets me through mowing the lawn, or yard work, which takes me longer than the average person due to even with our yard size. But Drew, you like the silver, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Drew is actually a fan of the old silver. And not only did Drew say that Drake Maye is like 2 years early with his ability improving, not only the Patriots a year or two early with the rebuild, but we could have a doomsday scenario here. If the Patriots make the Super Bowl, the AFC would be home this year. Now, if the Patriots win their 7th Super Bowl in the monotone all blue blueberries, do we cry tears of joy, or will we be crying for a different reason?
You two are some of the only people in my life who could take the Patriots making the Super Bowl and throw like a little anxiety in there, not over anything related to just the uniforms. I miss you for stuff like this. No, like they could be naked in the Super Bowl, and this is a good day to be a Patriots fan. Okay, like that's just what it is. Like that would be the bummer. You'd hope they'd wear the silver, but come on, Colin. They could wear Jets uniforms in the Super Bowl, and you're watching and rooting and just as happy for them.
Not the Jets uniforms from Sunday, Drew. Those looked like the color of paint on Puke House at UConn. Not that we were there much, but that was literally what they modeled it after. But no, I mean, I did come to the terms with the fact that the Celtics could have clinched in black had they chosen to. I
was ready. I had told people whatever it takes if the Celtics were alternate black, pink, and brown. But I'm glad they won.
Why can't they just not though? Why can't, like, they're next to Cranberry Bogs, not Blueberry Fields. Like the all blues should not be considered. But I will say the rivalry, like all the others, are bad. So the Patriots, even though I don't love the rivalry, I think it's definitely up there. But luckily, I don't think you're allowed to wear throwback or rivalry or any alternate in the Super Bowl.
Can I give you a doomsday scenario though that rivals that?
Yeah.
Let's say Jason Tatum is healthy in time and he plays on Super Bowl Sunday, and that game starts at 5:00.
The Celtics.
Oh my God.
The Celtics.
You get one screen. What are you doing?
Drew, the Celtics, the tanking's over. Jaylen Brown's the greatest, and I'm ready for a Super Bowl NBA Finals year. Like, that also gives me a lot of anxiety.
The Celtics, because I think Pierce's last game in the Garden as a Clipper was the year they beat the Falcons. Horford's buzzer beater against the Hawks, I believe, was when they beat the Rams or when they lost to the Eagles. But they usually play the matinee, so even the NBA schedulers did not think there'd be a conflict, but it would be Celtics on the computer in the foreground with the Patriots on the big screen TV.
Okay, good.
But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be exciting either way. Obviously, like, get the division first and try to lock down home field and go from there. But it's been really fun and unexpected, and that's the cool thing. Like, very happy to be wrong about my first 3-week, outlook. So I'll take anytime.
Wait, Matt, are you done with your Patriots questions?
Yeah, I've been done for a few minutes.
Okay, yeah, because you said the whole point of this episode was to have Drew talk more.
I know, that's my bad.
Two more Patriots thoughts real quick. And I think I had texted you, Drew, at all hours of the day for years and I don't know if you remember this, you probably left them all unread, but I wanted Drake Maye to be Bill Belichick's successor for years. And I I can't believe Bob Kraft had the same idea as me, and maybe it's not a good thing that Bob Kraft in his 80s had the same idea as me, but I will still maintain that Mayo didn't get enough time, and the main reason why Mayo got fired was because Vrabel was available and flirting with the Jets. But with that being said, like Matt said at the top, like Vrabel has done an outstanding job. You've covered, like Matt alluded to, Penn State coaches, well, one in particular, and then Belichick, Mayo, Vrabel. What have you seen out of Vrabel specifically as a coach this year that has made him stand out, even if it's similarities or differences to the other two?
Yeah, I think there's a way to describe Vrabel as the proper and best blend of Belichick and Mayo. And people might hear that and be like, well, what part of Mayo do you want? And I think it's the relatability piece where you get all the credibility from being an ex-player and you just show up and they understand you've been there. That only gets you so far because obviously Gerard Mayo didn't take that further than 4 wins. And one of them was hand wrapped and gifted with a bow on top from the Bills in the regular season finale. So what Vrabel puts on top of that is his experience as a coach and his, I don't want to say genius, but something below there in terms of game management, clock management, and frankly, motivation. Like his first language is English, his second one is ball buster. And you have players in press conferences telling us, yeah, he kind of gets under our skin and he knows how to do that and it freaking works. So, like, look, the schedule is the biggest piece of what's going on here with their success. Maybe not the biggest piece, but it's a big one. Vrabel is driving everything else. And part of it is the coaches he's put around Drake Maye and the coaching staff defensively. But there's just everything you want in a modern head coach is there with Vrabel around the basic principles that Belichick had and the things that he's not going to waver from. And it's effort and it's finish and it's everything that you would want in any era. But now with a modern twist and support staff and understanding, again, it's just he was a top 10 coach in Tennessee, but now you're really seeing it in New England, even though it's just year one.
No, awesome. And again, like it is just so exciting to watch the post games when he's high fiving everyone. It's great. We got to look ahead because even though we did spend a lot of time on uniforms, like the AFC, now that I know the Celtics have a Super Bowl Sunday game that late, I do have anxiety. But
No, they don't.
my main
I was just teasing. I looked that up while you guys were answering, and there's like a whole break, I think, around the Super Bowl. So you're
okay. Good. All right. Yeah.
There's not another NBA Cup, is there? Is that why there's a?
down on the cup.
Yeah. Well, no. It's probably is that All-Star Weekend? Maybe is that maybe what it is?
I
No,
think
but all right. Either way, so looking at the AFC, my main anxiety is still watching the Chiefs. I don't want them in, and like if they don't get in, I could live with losing to whoever else. But like thinking about the AFC, just give me your thoughts on the Patriots. Obviously, are technically, literally, and legitimately a top contender. And then what else do you see as the AFC playoff pick?
Yeah, I look at the AFC a lot like I look at the East in the NBA. Like all of the best teams are in the West, and the Patriots are kind of lucky to be in the East. That said, there's no team that scares you. It's just a matter of okay, would you rather face what I would describe as the best offense or defense in the AFC, which would be the Texans defense, the best player in Josh Allen, or a team that's won as many games as you in a row as Denver and might have the best home field advantage when you include the elevation. And they obviously won't get to make those picks, but when you approach those matchups, you'll notice I left out your team, Kyle, the Chiefs, because these Chiefs are not those Chiefs. And that's just what it is on offense, in defense. Jacksonville, like, who the hell knows? But the point is, you're lucky to be at home at least for one round, barring a complete collapse here, have the quarterback who's playing the best, and a head coach who knows what it takes in close games. So beyond that, like it's really a crapshoot, and it's not a disappointment in my eyes that they lose in the first round, provided you don't kind of get blown out. But I just don't see that. And in the meantime, if I'm them, pending what happens Sunday, the team I would least want to see is Buffalo, because the way I've resolved it in my head is this: the other team would be the Texans that I would fear. So between them and the Bills, would you rather ask Drake Maye to go down in a final drive against the Texans defense? Or would you rather ask the Patriots defense in a tie game or if you're up by a field goal to stop Josh Allen? I am much more afraid, losing much more sleep over the Josh Allen proposition versus a really excellent, good defense, the Texans, because I just trust Drake Maye more. But Josh Allen scares me, even if the Patriots beat the Bills on Sunday, because he's just a playoff berth. You get to the divisional round through Josh Allen. as they have the last 5 years. And there's only two teams that have done that, them and the Chiefs. He's that good.
Yeah, I think I agree where the Bills would be the team like to be the one with the experience who have been there that especially if the Patriots beat them a second time, then the odds of them beating three times in 1 year would be tough. The Ravens kind of have taken steps back now. So it is interesting. Even I would be very excited even going into, you'd be there, the orange hellscape of Denver. It would be it might be PTSD in the fourth quarter, but it would be cool to see. So Matt, you gotta stop drinking the Celtics cup from the season opener in 2017 because we have to wrap up soon and we got to go rapid fire. Um, just want to get a quick for our listeners. Drew has covered the Patriots. Can you just give a quick overview of like the a game day experience as the journalist at Gillette Stadium?
Sure. Show up around 10 a.m., walk around until someone recognizes me, offers me a beer, crack a cold one, and then walk in, sometime around kickoff. No, look, it probably is between 9:30 and 10, get into the stadium and get to the press box. There's really not a whole lot to do. Like you see reporters tweeting photos and, I do the same thing, but like they're there at 7 or 8. You're kind of waiting around. Inactives come out then at 11:30. Okay, who's up? Who's down? You see warm-ups in front of you. Sometimes you're looking at the offensive line has an injury or two, who's replaced them, though you generally have an idea, who's returning, who's catching passes, yada, yada. And then once the game begins, I have my laptop, I have a yellow legal pad that's arranged in a way that I've been charting games every single year when they're on offense. And then defensively, instead of looking at the down, the distance, the personnel, where the quarterback is, the running back, and whether they're under center or not, and then the play result, which is what I do offensively, it's just what personnel grouping are they in, and then taking notes on every drive. So when I go back Sunday night and into Monday, I have all those notes. Game goes on. At the end of the game, we take an elevator down because we're like way high up in one of the corners at Gillette. And then you walk down into the concourse by the visitors' locker room, and players and officials and cops are walking around to get to the main auditorium, which is the Patriots team meeting room. And there you wait for Vrabel to come up, and there's like this little makeshift stage at the front, then the podium that you see if you ever watch the press conferences. He goes, Drake Maye goes after that, a couple of other players. And once Vrabel's done, usually they say the locker room's open, meaning, after every game, there's like 15, 20 minutes the teams get to themselves. And then reporters are allowed to come in and ask questions and talk to guys. And they're supposed to be available to us, meaning you can answer one question and be out of there, do a Marshawn Lynch and just whatever. But that's when you bounce around and go talk to guys after the game to find out what happened here or whatever they might have done. Once that's done, back to the press box and write for 2, 3, 4 hours. And I usually get home like 8:30 or 9 and start on film, and then we're doing that on Monday.
And then on Tuesday, you could listen to Pat's Interference breakdown of the film with Drew and Mike Giardi. I haven't played NCAA football in a long time, so even with that knowledge, a lot of the defenses and offenses sometimes is a different language to me. But it is a great listen, and it recaps the Patriots games. And thank you for that recap. All right, so Matt, are you going to start rapid fire then?
Yeah, sure. So, without limiting your current access to the locker room by calling anything out, you could just pick the past. What's been the most enjoyable athlete to interview, the best interview, and some of the worst or toughest?
Ted Karras is a great interview and an open guy. Also knows more about the office than I know about any show or maybe anything in the entire world. Once thought to ask Rainn Wilson, who played Dwight, to marry him and his wife, who was also an office nerd. Philip Dorsett going back was a really nice guy. Deron Harmon was great. Kendrick Bourne, who got released earlier this year. They've had a lot of good guys swing through. There's one that's I'm forgetting is bugging me. As far as guys who didn't want to talk, Isaiah Wynn was a bit prickly, and that wasn't even just to me. Like none of this is personal. You don't like me, like it happens. You meet enough people. It's just how it goes. Let's see. After that, Damian Harris. It's a surprise to me he's in media, given how much he seemed to dislike the people who worked in media around him. And look, I understand. I don't want a bunch of people crowding me when I'm naked or changing in the locker room after. Like we give you the space, but then we don't. And there were people within the organization that kind of agree with me on Damian. But aside from those two, which wasn't even that bad, there really haven't been many guys. They know how not to say anything when they don't want to. So that ruined the rapid fire answer, but there you go. It's too long. Here we go. I'll be better.
No, I know that's fine. And even like so for just from your Penn State days to now, like to get to what Colin talked about with the film review and stuff you do, like the system. What was the long? I remember telling the tape back in the day with Penn State. What was the sort of? How did you get it to be? You able to do this like without it being so taxing? Like what were you able to kind of achieve with going through film aside from charting each play?
So back in the Penn State days, UConn
Yeah,
or
I mean, I remember like telling the tape you would like scour through it. So like during the season, are you able to just quickly get through it? Kind of have your own system where you're congratulations on recent fatherhood where you're able to kind of get through the game more quickly.
yeah, some stuff is more accessible because other people are charting it. Now, I still want to trust and know that that's correct. Like Pro Football Focus has like numbers for everything, but some of them I don't use because like a blitz that identifies any play where a linebacker or safety or corner is rushing the quarterback. And the way the defense is pressure now, it's very often simulated pressures where you drop a defensive lineman and then one of those positions move forward. If it's still four guys rushing, it's not a blitz. They don't seem to get that. I will, however, take their missed tackles. I will, however, take some personnel stats from other databases, and that helps me as opposed to going through hand, by hand to figure all that out. But honestly, like there's something to be said for just watching a game and subconsciously picking up on things that you didn't see the first time that you won't find in those breakdowns. And it could be a player's alignment, it could be a down and distance pattern, because there's just so much information there that even when you're searching for certain things, you might miss what the story of the game was. And sometimes I miss that altogether anyway, but like it's still a 12 to 14-hour process, including the night before, to get through all of the film. I just know a lot more of what I'm talking about now than when I was up at night living with my parents after graduating from college, writing for free for SB Nation, and then going to work at Wings Express for 12 hours, which was just working out the TV copy. Life is much better than those days right now.
And how have you taken having some TV experience now at NBC Sports Boston? How has that been? Kind of talk a little bit about that if you can, because you're not just writing or doing a podcast; you're also on live TV.
Yeah, sure. I'm here now. And it really started 4 years ago where Tom Curran, who's the man, was just like, "Hey, would you ever want to do this? Like, you got a sense of humor, you could talk." I'm like, Tom, fucking of course. Like, yeah, that sounds great. And since I've gotten here, like the people are so great where you get support or questions or input about what the show is going to be, and you're prepared. And that's not true of every place, and radio or certainly newspapers that I've been. So just to have that kind of support and organization has been huge. And then also just being on air, like I would initially rewatch every single one of my appearances, which isn't to say I don't now. I just kind of pick my spots because I just wanted to get better and be like, okay, what sucked about this? What didn't I like? What could have been better? And so that's been huge because I, with time, watch it as I would anyone sitting at home, be like, oh, I could do that. But then when you get behind a camera under the lights or have to think of something on the spot or suddenly arguing with someone screaming at you, how do you react? And then it's about how to get to the best place where I feel like it's comfortable, it's authentic while being prepared because I was just too into the numbers and all of my notes initially. Now I feel like I've got a balance, but that's not possible if they don't keep inviting me back, which I've been really lucky to have that happen. And Tom Curran just 4 years ago, I remember where I was. It was a Monday night practice, Itchlet Stadium in training camp in 2021. COVID stuff was starting to be relaxed. And he just asked me. He didn't have to do that, but I had a relationship with Tom. And like a lot of stuff in life, it just kind of works out if you end up being a good person to good people. And I got a chance and we're still here.
And
that's how we're all together.
Yeah, it really is.
And full disclosure, the talking piece you with the radio background at college, being a sports director at WHUS and having that piece, the three of us having some road trip experience together as well. Back in the heyday, we are UConn alums. So last question, as a fellow UConn alum, but also an NFL writer, our school did just hire a new coach. So, initial reactions to the Jason Candle hire. If you want to listen to the previous podcast, we had a couple guys blabber on about him for a half hour. I don't know if they'll be back on the show, but also about, some of the Toledo prospects you've seen at the draft and stuff. overall what you're feeling is the last decade of Toledo football and Candle.
Yeah, there are a couple guys who stand out. Like Darius Alexander is a big defensive tackle who I think went early second round this year or the year before. So there's talent there that he's worked with. The best I can tell, because I haven't really studied it, it seems to be like a floor raiser. Like Toledo was always in some kind of bowl. They're always going 8-4, 9-3, something in that range. And frankly, for UConn, even though we were undefeated in regulation games, like I'll take a floor raiser at this point. Don't let us go back to the lows that we've been at before because that sucked. It just doesn't need to happen. So someone who understands the college football landscape knows how to recruit to a school where he's not competing with Ohio State, but like you need to find out how to elbow other people at your table. And in this case, it's BC and other players, maybe Penn State on occasion. Like I think he can do that. He did that in Ohio, where it's as crowded a table as you'll find him recruiting. And to me, the track record, as well as some NFL players here and there, I think who was the corner? Quinyon Mitchell. I think he was a Toledo guy. Correct me if I'm wrong. I could be very wrong. This is where newborn dad brain takes over very late. But point is, I like the hire. I can't tell you that I knew a lot about him before he was hired, but I like what I've seen.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, he was.
Still have, and for the listeners, Matt and I were actually Drew was WA2S sports director. We all worked at the daily campus together at UConn, but we were actually technically Drew's boss for a year.
Yes.
And you guys can be the judge on which journalism careers took off more post college. I'm not going to say anything, but real quick to end, even though we're Huskies and we talk a lot of Boston sports, we all love college football, and even though Drew left Happy Valley years ago, we've still been fascinated by Penn State over the years. Any remarks on Penn State's disappointing season and coaching change? James Franklin is no longer the Nittany Lions head coach. Any thoughts?
Probably time for a change for James and Penn State. I thought it was weird that they took 54 days to find a new head coach when they let go of him. But like that team lost to UCLA, who had 2 practices before they beat Penn State as something like 39-point underdogs, even at home. You could have just left him in LA. I think he might have been happier in LA than going back to State College, but they waited another week. Matt Campbell, I like you talk about a floor raiser. He took the floor and made it what seemed like the ceiling at Ohio State and stayed there. So like that's a guy who's drawn NFL interest. I like their replacement. James going to Virginia Tech feels like water finding its level for where he should probably be. And 13 years or whatever it was at Penn State would tell you that. So yeah, I think it all worked out the way it should have.
Matt, do you want to sign off?
Yeah, so Drew, thank you so much. Again, congratulations.
Go ahead. No, sorry. Hold on.
So,
are you going to mention Boston Herald and Pat's interference?
Yes, this is
okay. But Matt, you don't see. You want the sign off, but then you don't tell me. Just go.
All right, can I do it? All right. So Drew, thank you so much. Congratulations on fatherhood. I like how we were able to do this out in the open, cameras on, unlike the final article that we all co-wrote at the Daily Campus. We were co-contributors. There may have been a ghostwriter or two or just one in there, but the byline went to me in calls. So we could keep that a secret. Appreciate you coming on. Please follow Drew on all social media. Read his stuff at the Boston Herald. Listen to Pat's Interference. And then also, check out NBC Sports Boston because he does appear on TV as well. So really appreciate you, Drew. As always, follow Duck on a Rock on all socials. Please unfollow me at McD21. And looking forward to seeing what color pants the Patriots are wearing this week. And thank you, listeners, as always, for being a part of our flock.